Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Wisbits Random Gaming and Wisbits Random Topics. Now, this is a video I've been aiming to do for some time. It's been a little bit time consuming, so I haven't had a chance to sit down and get as many of these sit down videos as I would have liked to have done recently. But yeah, I want to talk about the Xbox 360 and the impact it had on my life, my gaming life, and my overall thoughts of the systems. Talking about some of the games that I really loved on the system, some that I've got in my collection I'm still yet to play and I'm anticipating playing. But yeah, generally about the Xbox 360. So before we get into the topic, if you happen to like this kind of content, gameplay chats, gameplay videos, game hunts, all that kind of good stuff, then please take the time to consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that bell notification as well. It will let you know as and when I'm going to be uploading content. We do have a Facebook group as well. Check the video bio for the link for that one. And there's also a membership option available, and you can support the channel from as little as 99 pence a month. Anyway, let's talk about the 360. So, I wasn't big on the original Xbox. I have no real nostalgia for it. A lot of the time when I'm playing the original Xbox now, I'm discovering stuff. I'm loving the system today and I'm really enjoying collecting for it, but I was pretty much a PlayStation 2 person. And around about the time that the 360 came out, that sort of mid-generation, I was playing PlayStation 2 like everyone else, but I wasn't heavily gaming. I was buying a few games, I was playing. But at the time I was a lot more into music than I was gaming, music production, buying vinyl, all that kind of stuff that I was doing in my early 20s. And for that reason I remember selling off my PlayStation 2 and a whole bundle of games for around about £250. At the time it seemed a good price, but when you look back at some of the games that was in the collection, maybe not so much. Anyway, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Wish we had it then. But the plan was buy a new mixer for my turntables and then just buy a PlayStation 3 when it came out. Now the PlayStation 3 was due out not long after that period of time where I sold the PlayStation 2. And then I remember it got delayed, if I remember rightly, around about a year. So the PlayStation 3 was no longer an option. And I didn't have anything at home to game on at the time, as I was just someone that owned one console at a time, maximum two, depending on circumstances. So I was like, wow, what do I buy now? I don't really want to go back to the PlayStation 2. I don't want an OG Xbox. I've got no real interest in that. And then the upcoming release of the DS came out. Remember the big chunky silver ones? Yeah, that was coming out. And I thought, perfect. That is the perfect option for me that wants to casually game whilst I'm waiting for the arrival of the PlayStation 3. Now I remember going to game on the way home and buying the DS, the original one, with a couple of games. I think it was a Pac-Man game where, I can't remember, the Pac-Pix, that's the one, where you had to draw the Pac-Man with the stylus. And I picked up a Wario game, and I believe it might have been Mario 64. All in one go. And there was a rhythm game as well. What was it? Rhythm Paradise. Brilliant example of what the DS could do and what's to come on the DS. I loved it. And I was playing that for quite a while. But it got to the stage where it wasn't scratching the itch that I had for gaming. It really wasn't. Then the Xbox 360 came out. And initially, I didn't really have much interest in it. Now, I was reading reviews in magazines and online articles at the time. And yeah, it was kind of just a stopgap at the beginning for PlayStation 2, OG Xbox titles, just stepping up. There wasn't a great deal of difference in terms of the quality and the visuals initially. So I had no real interest. But then that PlayStation 3 date was still quite a way off. And like I say, the DS really wasn't cutting it for me. So I remember going home again from one day, that same game that I frequented after work quite often, and picking one up. Now I bought a bundle of games at the time. I was never convinced about the 360 when I bought it, but I thought I'll give it a go. It looks good after I'd done my research. I remember, I think it was the World Cup game at the time that I brought home. It might have been South Africa, the FIFA World Cup game, and I picked up Condemned, and I picked up Rumble Roses because was pretty much a hardcore wrestling fan back in the day. Not so much now, casual watcher. I went home. The World Cup game wasn't for me. It was quite boring. Rumble Roses, I had great fun with that for about 48 hours. Nothing changed up on it. And game used to have that policy where you could just trade a game straight back in, full value, and swap. And that's what I did. I can't remember the game that I came home with instead. But I know I enjoyed it more than I did Rumble Roses, which is now a fairly expensive game. What can I say? Hitman, that's what I came home with. Hitman was an early release for it. And The Godfather. Yes, that's the two games that I swapped them over for. Hitman and The Godfather. So I had the Hitman game, I had the Godfather game, and I had Condemned. Those were the three games that I was playing at the time. And yeah, initially I was thinking this isn't a massive jump in quality in terms of where the PlayStation 2 was, the Xbox OG. But I gradually grew to love what the Xbox was. Everything about it, from the control pad, which to me is still one of the best control pads ever released. I don't think I'm alone in that opinion. PC owners to this day are still using that control pad when playing games that require a pad rather than a mouse. It was great. A lot of people used to say to me, oh, it's not going to be anything on the level of the PlayStation 3. My opinion, I was always a PlayStation guy, but I think the 360 was the better console by far. Now, it's only my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to have different opinions. During that generation, Xbox Live, yeah, you had to pay for Xbox Live, but you did get what you paid for. The servers were much better quality than what I saw on the PlayStation 3. I did have a PlayStation 3 not long after its release. I managed to find one on eBay really cheap, took a punt, and they were both sitting there. And I hardly ever played the PlayStation 3. I used it for Blu-rays. That was it. Gameplay, if a game came out on both systems, it was a 360 for me, all day long. Xbox Live was brilliant. Now, at the time, I don't think many of us were really looking at Xbox Live and the downloadable part of the games as being the potential killer of physical media. It's played a massive part, obviously. But I don't think we was looking at it that way. I think there is a lot of benefits from such a service, and I think all of us at the time, or the majority of us anyway, were looking at the benefits and thinking how good this service was compared to what might be down the line. There were some great arcade titles that you could play on your 360 in HD. Everything was just brilliant about it until the Red Ring of Death. I remember I was playing the first WWE game that was released on the system at the time, and I had that big screaming noise and that Red Ring of Death. I had no idea what had happened. Yeah, Microsoft really did mess up on that front. I think the Red Ring of Death really has, to a degree, tainted the legacy of what the Xbox 360 was and is. PlayStation had its own issue though, didn't it? I think with was it the yellow light? Now, I never personally suffered that. That's probably because I didn't really turn my PlayStation 3 on a great deal during that period of time. Mine went twice. I had the Red Ring of Death twice. Now that's a snippet if you ever want to use something. But they sorted it. Microsoft took it on the chin. Cost them a lot of money. A lot of money. And not just to someone like myself and you guys, it was a lot of money to a corporation like Microsoft. They did the honourable thing. They fixed everything and they sent it all back out. It was their fault. They took it on the chin and they moved forward. They redesigned variations of the 360 to make sure that this stuff wasn't going to happen again. And yeah, for me, I just genuinely grew to love that generation. It was a generation that pulled me out of what I was doing in my 20s to once again become a hardcore gamer. It took me away from being casual and it lured me back into sitting there putting hours and hours into various games, completing the Hitman game, completing Condemned, loads of games that came out on that system. The quality jumped so much. Over time, obviously, as I said, initially it was just a snazzier OG Xbox, a snazzier PS2. But everything was great about it. Now, the later redesigns obviously were far better. It didn't have the possibility of the red ring of death. Didn't have to buy an adapter for it to go on the back so you had Wi-Fi. We're talking about a different time now. What you get today, all of that stuff is standard, but you know, I don't know if it was possible back then and whether maybe it was a cash grab to make you buy additional accessories, but the option was there and of course I took it. You know, we had the headsets, as bony as they was at the time. Xbox Live was brilliant to play online with your friends as well. I'm not so much an online gamer these days, a bit of a lone wolf in that terms, but that's just my preference these days. But it was great, it was new, it was exciting at the time. So many people I knew had an Xbox, and it was the first time I knew a series of friends that had an Xbox. Not many people I knew had the OG Xbox, but many people gravitated over to the 360. And for that reason, it was great to organise gaming nights, parties, and just individual football matches, individual SmackDown, Raw matches between you and your friends. It was a great time. And one I think personally is never going to be replicated, in my opinion. I think it's going to be the last truly great generation of consoles. For me personally, I know not everyone's going to agree with that, but stuff has happened since then. My personal opinion is that a lot of stuff in terms of console gaming have declined ever since. It's become almost like an easy option PC since the PlayStation 4 and since obviously the PlayStation 5, and same with the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X. It's a go-to, no frills PC experience almost these days. And whilst I still really like both of those machines, they don't excite me in no way, shape or form, not even close to what the 360 did. The fact that it had so many games on the system that you probably wouldn't have heard of unless you was shopping around. You know, studios were making games for the system. And not just this system, this goes across the board to the PlayStation 3 as well. They were making games for the systems that, you know, wouldn't get made today. And if they did, it would probably be a digital release only. People weren't going bankrupt as much by making video games. It seems today that if you make a video game and you just have a bit of a near miss with it, the studio folds. And it's a real, it's a real shame. And I think that's where the Switch has sort of crept in, you know, above both of those systems, Sony and Microsoft. You can release your game on the Switch, and it seems to be a more viable option for smaller development companies, in all honesty, you know. But it was brilliant. What a great time. So yeah, for the next 10-15 minutes, I just want to go through a few games that I personally loved during the period, and what they mean to me, and a few of the games that I still have yet to play for various reasons. Everyone's got a backlog, and how I'm anticipating playing them. Now, my collection of 360 stuff, I've got probably a couple of hundred games now since I started recollecting. I don't have a lot of the games that I once had. I aim to at some point. but there's no rush. Collecting for me isn't about buying on site, it's about buying when you're comfortable with it. And yeah, so there's going to be a few games that I'm unable to talk about today for that reason, exactly that. So yeah, let's talk about a few games that I've got lined up here. And here is one that I've yet to play. I managed to pick up not too long ago for around about 15 quid. And that is Afro Samurai. Now, I've always heard pretty good things about this game. Samuel Jackson is one of the voices in this as well. Not go wrong, can you, with Samuel Jackson's voice? I've heard, the only real negative thing I've heard about this is it's got a terrible camera angle. It's high on my list of 360 games to be playing very soon though. So hopefully I'll check back in with you on a future video and let you know what I think. Another one that I have not played extensively, I've only played for probably around about an hour. I bought this off a good friend of mine, Joe, over at Super Smash Gaming YT. She gave me a great price on it, and that is Silent Hill Downpour. Now, Silent Hill Downpour is kind of like the black sheep of the Silent Hill games. Or is that, sorry, that's Homecoming, isn't it? Homecoming was the first one. It was made by an American developer. Yeah, apologies, I got that completely wrong. And in fact, that's the game I'm thinking of that I've played for around about an hour. I've yet to play this. I've just worked it out. Again, another game high on the list. Now, here's a game that got middling to average reviews when it came out, but I was determined that there was a good game in there somewhere. And I was definitely right. I don't care what anyone says. It has a rough first few hours. But if you can preserve and get yourself through it, they made this game all wrong in that sense. It made it difficult to get into and difficult to stay with. But I did so, and for me it's now one of my favourite games that I've ever completed on the 360. And that is Castlevania Lords of Shadows. Is it Lord? Yes, it is Lords. The further you get in this game, the challenge is there, but it's fair. The gameplay improves, the mechanics improve as well. There's a rough few first hours of this game. So if you have played this game and you gave up on it, I don't blame you. But I urge you, go back, give it another go. There's definitely a really good game in here. You've just got to get past that annoying stumbling block of the first few hours. But yeah, definitely one of the games that I really loved on the system, and I might actually go back and play through it at some point. It was that enjoyable. Now, this game for me was one of the defining games of the era. Fantastic. Now, I love the whole concept of zombies, that kind of world, you know, the George Romero stuff, and Left 4 Dead was an absolute classic. Not just was it great in the campaign mode, which it really was, it was also brilliant as well in the story mode. There was so many layers to this game. The sequel, whilst good, not as good as the original, and this one has maintained some sort of price. I think it's still around about 12 to 15 pounds. It's one you need in your collection. If you've never actually played Left 4 Dead, and you like first-person shooters, and I really don't. I'm not a big first-person shooter guy, but this one is a must-buy. Now, this was one of the first games that I picked up on the system. I did buy the Steelbook from Game, I do remember. I don't actually own the Steelbook anymore, I don't think. So I've just pulled this copy out. Now, this is like a £2 or £3 game now. You've had a remaster that was out probably around about a year ago. And it was great at the time. The concept again was, you know, something dear to my heart with the whole zombie situation. And that is Dead Rising. What a brilliant concept this was. And I found it quite difficult, to be honest with you. So I had a lot of fun just running around and doing my own thing in this game. The Grand Theft Auto of zombie films, or games, shall we say. So much you could do in this game. So much. And I think one of the things that kind of let the game down as well is the writing. The text was really small and almost unreadable. And I was playing on a CRT at the time. when I first bought the 360, I believe I was. And it was awful. Even when I upgraded to a HD TV, the writing, the text was almost unreadable, and it really did detract away from the gameplay. Obviously they've fixed that now in remakes and stuff like that, but yeah, it's still a real fun time, and you can understand why it's had so many sequels and so many spin-offs. Now, this series of games was fantastic. I've only pulled one of the trilogy out here because it's the closest one that I could find. Another game that I completed, but it got better and it got better as I went through the whole game. I never finished this one I'm about to show you. I finished the first two, but it's the trilogy that I want to talk about. Fear. The atmosphere in this game is absolutely fantastic. It just draws you in. And the gameplay mechanics were really good as well. It was the sort of first person shooter that I'm on board with, and I'm not a big first person shooter guy, but the whole Fear trilogy, every single one of the games is brilliant to play. And yeah, hopefully I might get the time to actually complete the third one at some stage in my life. Now, this one's a little bit of an unexpected one maybe, but I don't care, it's a banger. And that is Rockstar's Table Tennis. It's like a 50p game now. It's £1 maximum. What a game. I don't care. It was odd when everyone heard that Rockstar was making a table tennis game, considering what their history was. But this is a brilliant game. If you don't own it in your collection, you should. It's £1 maximum you're going to pay for this anywhere. But everything about it is perfect in terms of table tennis. The gameplay is brilliant. You could play this one for hours. And now looking at it, actually, I've not played this for some time. I might actually play this one tonight, and I'm going to keep this one out. It's just a fun time. Like I say, £1. You can't go wrong with this. If you don't own it, if you've not played it, don't do it. Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Is it the best of the Marvel vs. Capcom games? No, that's probably Marvel 2. But I loved 3. I thought it was a brilliant game, and I sunk so many hours into this one when I just wanted something casual to play. It had a lot of the characters that I really liked at the time. I'm kind of detached from the whole Marvel universe these days. It's got a bit much for me. And I'm kind of bored with it. But at the time, that wasn't the case. And like I say, I love Capcom characters. Who doesn't? If you're into gaming, there's going to be a whole plethora of Capcom characters. That was a mouthful, wasn't it? That you're going to like. And they're all here. Brilliant game. Great for people just to pick up. It does have the complexities that fighting games do. But it also has that pick up and play element as well, where you don't have to be an expert to get a lot of fun out of it. Sleeping Dogs. One of the games that made me put so many hours into gaming again. When this came out, I was a bit skeptical. I saw it and I was like, it's a GTA clone. But for me, it's a lot more than that. So much more depth to this game, so many more layers. The story was great, the fighting was on point, and yeah, it doesn't matter what version of Sleeping Dogs you play. It's been re-released on multiple systems. It doesn't matter. But I played it on the 360, which is why I'm highlighting it here. It's a brilliant game, and again, it's probably around about £2 or £3. If you haven't played Sleeping Dogs and you've got a system that it's available on, go and play it. It's not just a fun time. It's an experience that will draw you in. It's immersive, and yeah, this game really kept me going for some time. Sleeping Dogs. Now, here's a game I picked up recently from a friend over at the Retro Ghettos Discord. It's always mates rates on there. You get some great deals, and it's made by Konami. And I don't really know what it's all about, but again, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about a few games that I anticipate playing, and that is Never Dead. Now, this had a bit of a price hike when the 360 online store closed. And I managed to pick it up, like I said, at around about £12 to £15 posted. And for that reason, I bit the bullet. I've been after it for a while. I remember turning it down at £8 because I didn't really know what it's all about. And yeah, we all have buyer's regret. One that I look to play very soon. You can't say anything more about Grand Theft Auto 4, can you? Can you remember if you was buying games at the time, the absolute chaos that was the release of Grand Theft Auto 4? It was a struggle to find a shop that had it in stock. It really was. I remember phoning up my local game station, well, the one that was close to where I worked at the time, and I knew the people in the store. So, because I was so frequently in and out of there, I used to walk from a train station to my place of work, and I used to have to go past game station. So I was in and out a lot. I'm not going to say friends with the people in there, but they knew me, I knew them, and I phoned them up, and they said they had a few copies left, amazingly, and they held on to one for me. I remember at 11 o'clock in the morning, we got a 15-minute tea break. Now, it was a 10-minute run, 10-minute walk to the station where I worked. I managed to get there, get it done. I took a rollicking from my boss when I got back about 10 minutes late. I really didn't care because I had a copy of Grand Theft Auto 4. It's not my favourite Grand Theft Auto by any means. I didn't enjoy the driving aspect of it. But that generation, the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, it's hard to talk about that period of time without mentioning it. It was pivotal and such a defining game of the generation. Now, I've only got part 2 in front of me instead of the first one that I played, and I never actually completed this one. But I've mentioned it previously, Condemned. Now I've got Condemned 2 here, I've got both games. Condemned for me was a really, really good game. Is it a classic? No, probably not. But as one of the first releases on the console itself, it was a very adequate game and one I thoroughly enjoyed. My wife at the time, well, my wife now, sorry, we'd only just got together around about the time that I picked up a 360, and she's not into video games that much, but the whole story and what I had to do in the game and the atmosphere, it drew her in. She was helping me go through the game. She was enjoying what was on screen, the story, the tension, and yeah, I remember getting to a certain stage of the game and looking for an online walkthrough, which she kind of helped me walk through with. Now, if she wasn't enjoying it, she would never have done that. So yeah, this actually drew a non-gamer in as well, the Condemned series. Red Dead Redemption. Now, although I'm holding the Undead Nightmare version here, I'm talking across the board here on the Red Dead games. Again, similar to GTA 4, a pivotal moment in that generation's gaming history. It was brilliant. Very slow paced compared to what GTA was, at least initially. But once you really got into it and you tried to not compare it to GTA, it might have actually been the better game, in my opinion. Devil May Cry 4. Now, I'd played all the Devil May Cries, probably apart from 3 actually. I don't think I'd played 3 at the time. And I'd never completed one, in all honesty. I found them to be hard as nails, but a lot of fun nevertheless. But Devil May Cry 4 was the first Devil May Cry that I completed. And I had a great time with this one. It was one of the first games on the 360 that went down in price dramatically from what I remember. Maybe it's because of the amount of copies that was produced, I don't know. But it's not a crap game, so I don't know why it went down so dramatically. It's brilliant. I had a lot of fun navigating my way through this entire game, and not just that, but the boss fights as well. It's where Capcom shine, is with a huge boss, and this one doesn't let you down. There's that statue type boss where you've got to jump from screen to screen, land on its hands. That boss took me forever. The joy. I remember the joy of when I defeated that boss. It just added to the overall enjoyment of the game. I was not going to be defeated. I carried on, and yeah, great game. Bayonetta. Similar to what I've just spoken about in terms of the navigation through the game, enjoying it, the hack and slash elements, and the boss fights. Not really much more I can say about this that I haven't already said about Devil May Cry 4, but Bayonetta, if you like the Devil May Cry games, you've got to own this. Wet. Now, this came out to pretty average reviews. It's quite an easy game, but that's not a bad thing. It boosted up my Xbox points pretty quickly by getting through it, my gamer score, and it's a lot of fun throughout the way. It's very typical of the generation where it's got those quick motion events at times, but not to the point where it detracts from the game. Yeah, I really enjoyed Wet. Not a lot of people did at the time, but I think it's become a bit of a game where people have fond memories of it now. You talk about the game now, I don't hear anyone talking negatively about it now, but upon release you did. I took the risk and I really liked it, and I've kept my copy ever since. The Darkness. Again, one of those games where you probably wouldn't really get it in this day and age. Something like this, if it bombed, it'd probably bankrupt the studio. Admittedly, I've not finished this game. I got to a point where I was stuck, or I bought a new game. It's hard to remember, it was a long time ago. But I got to that point and I enjoyed it, but I never went back. But it's still a really good time. The time that I spent with it anyway, I really enjoyed. And yeah, it's joining that ever-increasing backlog of games that I really need to go back to. Will it happen? I'd like to think so, but I can't promise. Crackdown. Now this game, when it came out, it wasn't unique. I'm not going to use that term. But it was brilliant in terms of what you had to do in it. It was like a Grand Theft Auto, a futuristic Grand Theft Auto. And it's a shame what happened to the entire franchise, in all honesty. Crackdown 2 improved upon it. And then we had Crackdown 3, the total disappointment that was. It was in development hell for many years. And yeah, it wasn't the game it could have been. But this one, great fun time. It's like kind of like a Grand Theft Auto on illegal substances, shall we say. Mentioned it earlier, Silent Hill Homecoming. This was the one I was talking about that I've actually put a small amount of time into. A bit of the black sheep of the Silent Hill series, because I believe it's the first game that was developed by a Western company, and a lot of people said that they didn't really get the whole Silent Hill franchise. And the small amount of time that I've played it, whether my opinion is valid or not, I'm going to agree. But the small amount of time that I've played it, that doesn't make it a bad horror game. If you took away the Silent Hill name, I think this is a really solid game. I think people were disappointed. They expected a little bit more, just due to the franchise that it's associated with. Fight Night Champion. What a game. I don't think we've had a better boxing game since. We haven't had many. Undisputed is a solid game. Shout out Ollie for me. As much fun as this. Fight Night Champion, still to this day, is the premier boxing game. It's not going to change anytime soon either, I don't think. Asura's Wrath. What a game. It's become quite sought after these days, and it's a game that I never actually completed. I got very close to this one, and I recently re-added it to the collection when I was on a family trip away and there was a local CEX there. Used vouchers to pick it up. And again, I've mentioned a few games that are quite high on the list. This is one of them. Now, we cannot talk about Xbox in general without talking about the Halo games. I'm not a massive Halo fan, I really ain't. But I played quite a bit of it on the 360, and I played quite a bit of it on the OG Xbox, around friends' houses. Not my favourite games. I could totally see the appeal, but yeah. it just wasn't the series for me that made me sort of, I'm not going to say become an Xbox fanboy, because that stuff was still happening then, but it didn't draw me in. There's another game I'm going to get to that really convinced me that Xbox was winning at the time. Now, I don't have the original to hand. I've just picked out some games randomly, but for me, this was the defining experience of my Xbox 360 experience, and no other game drew me in like this. I used to go to work, I used to want to come home and complete it, get further, get on the next level. I was sitting thinking about it whilst I was at work, and it's the Gears of War series. Now, it's coming to PlayStation 5 very soon. Will I be picking it up? No. I've got everything I need here. From the Ultimate Edition on the Xbox One as well. Like, I've never experienced something at the time. It just drew me in. I've said that term quite a few times during the course of this video, but nothing drew me in like the Gears of War series, especially the first one. Didn't play online too much. Again, I tried, and it was a little bit outrageous on there. If you know, you know. But the campaign, it drew me in, and I just couldn't get enough of it. Gears of War 2 was a day one purchase for me. Gears of War 3, again, a day one purchase. It kind of lost its luster a little bit by the time 4 came out, but I bought it not long after the release because I still had that desire to play the games. I've completed every single one of them. I think they're brilliant. If you haven't played Gears of War, if you're kind of that PlayStation guy that's never really bothered with Xbox, it's coming to your choice of system very soon. Pick it up. It's got to be one of the best gaming experiences I personally have ever experienced. Batman Arkham Asylum, brilliant game. I remember a period of my life where I was changing careers in my late 20s. I wasn't happy with the direction my life was going in terms of work, so I decided to save as much as I could, take a period of time off, do some studying, and try and find a new direction in life. Whilst I was doing that, my go-to video game at the time was Batman Arkham Asylum, which is why I've got such great memories of it. I was playing the game at night after I'd finished studying, doing whatever I was doing, changing direction in life. So it's always going to have that emotional attachment to me. But I think even without that emotional attachment, it's still a brilliant game. And as much as I like the other two games in the trilogy, I'm going to say this one is still, for me, my favourite. Now we're going back to games now. A couple of games that I can see here that I've still not played. First one is Catherine. Shout out to Hyper Trigger X. He has been bugging me subconsciously for a long time to buy this game. It's always been on my list, and again, it's at that top of that list of games that I'm going to play fairly soon. There's tournaments out there that he highlighted to me. I didn't realise there was Catherine tournaments. But yeah, this looks a lot of fun. It's a puzzle type game with a very odd, unique storyline. And again, I'm actually going to leave this one out tonight. I'm not going to be putting this one away when I pack these games away. And yeah, going to be playing this one, I think, this weekend. It's about that time. Now, in a similar vein, Shadow of the Damned. It's had a remaster that's come out recently. I picked it up not too long ago. The cover art always put me off. But a lot of my friends then told me that I was totally wrong on that front and that it's a good game. And in all honesty, the cover art still puts me off. I still think it looks a little bit cheap and nasty. I'm definitely in the minority on that front. But yeah, I've seen various videos of gameplay since, and it's at the top of my list of stuff that I want to play, just below Catherine and maybe Afro Samurai. Ninja Blade. Now, it's that sort of game, like Ninja Gaiden, which was quite synonymous, in my opinion, with the Xbox, that you probably wouldn't get in this day and age, because the company or the studio would be fearful of failure and financial losses. Ninja Blade is a tough game, from my experience anyway, but one that's a lot of fun, and you don't see enough games like this out and about in this day and age. I wish there was more. Now, one of the first games that I played as well when it came out on the 360, as I mentioned, I was buying games as and when they came out because I was so enamored with the system, and that is Stranglehold. I passed on my original copy recently to a friend because I upgraded to the Steelbook. You normally find these and they're battered. This one is in really good condition, so I'm glad to be upgraded. Now, Stranglehold is a sequel to Hard Boiled, which is a John Woo film, and I love John Woo stuff in the early 90s. And this plays on from Hard Boiled. It's, like I say, it's a sequel to the movie. It's a great game, very underrated, very cheap, and if you don't own this and you've been put off because it's a cheap game, don't be. Not all games that are cheap are bad. In fact, it's probably the opposite in a lot of ways. A lot of bad games are expensive. Definitely pick this one up. Now, I've only got one of the games here that I want to talk about. It's a trilogy. I only own 2 of them. The Cave Shooters on the 360. Anyway, the PAL releases. I've got Death Smiles, which is somewhere in there, but I couldn't see it. And then we have got Ekai Katana. Again, brilliant shmups all round. The one that I don't own on the 360 is Dondopachi, and it's got very expensive, but I do aim to add it to the collection pretty soon. So yeah, the 360, what a great time it was. I don't think we're ever going to get that generation replicated. Far too much has evolved since. It probably was, to an extent, the beginning of the evolution of where we are today. But the beginning of it was a lot of fun. A lot more fun, in my opinion, than what we get today. Anyway guys, thanks again for watching. Much appreciated. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care for now.